Imagine the unfathomable terror, boarding a vessel or aircraft, surrounded by familiar sights and sounds, only for it to vanish into the abyss, leaving behind no answers. The passengers, each with their stories, dreams, and fears, suddenly consumed by an enigma that defies time and logic. Today, we dive into two of history's most haunting disappearances: Flight MH370, a modern tragedy steeped in secrecy, and the Maria Celeste, an enduring maritime enigma. These stories will chill your soul and leave you questioning the safety of even the most routine journeys. March 8, 2014. What began as an ordinary day for passengers aboard Malaysia Airlines Flight MH370 would become one of the most baffling mysteries in aviation history. The Boeing 777, a modern marvel of engineering, was scheduled to fly from Kuala Lumpur to Beijing, carrying 227 passengers and 12 crew members. These individuals, a mosaic of cultures, backgrounds, and stories, settled in for a routine flight, blissfully unaware of the enigma awaiting them. The plane took off at 12:41 a.m., ascending smoothly into the night sky. For the first 38 minutes, everything was uneventful. Communication between the cockpit and air traffic control was normal. Captain Zahari Ahmad Shah and his co-pilot, Fariq Abdul Hamid, conducted their routine exchanges, ensuring passengers felt the comforting monotony of air travel. At 1:19 a.m., Captain Zahari's calm voice issued what would become his final transmission. "Good night, Malaysian 370. Moments later, the plane's transponder, the device that tracks its location, was switched off, rendering it invisible to civilian radar. MH370 veered sharply off course, deviating westward across the Malay Peninsula and into the vast, featureless expanse of the Indian Ocean. Initially, air traffic controllers assumed the plane had encountered a technical glitch or communication error. But as hours passed with no contact, an unsettling realization began to dawn. Flight MH370 had vanished. What followed was an unprecedented international search effort. More than 26 countries, deploying ships, planes, and satellites, scoured thousands of square miles of ocean. Search teams followed radar data and faint pings from the plane's automated systems, attempting to trace its path. The world watched in anticipation, hoping for news, for closure, but none came. In the absence of concrete answers, speculation ran rampant. Why had the plane diverted from its planned route? Was it a hijacking, a mechanical failure, an intentional act by someone on board? Investigators delved into the lives of the pilots, particularly Captain Zahari. Some claimed he was troubled, pointing to a flight simulator found in his home with a route resembling MH370's final path. Was this evidence of premeditation? Others dismissed such theories, emphasizing Zahari's experience and spotless record. Theories grew increasingly wild. Some posited a catastrophic cabin fire that incapacitated the crew, leaving the plane on autopilot until it ran out of fuel. Others suggested an onboard struggle or a deliberate act of sabotage. Conspiracy theorists speculated about espionage, covert military action, or even extraterrestrial interference. Months later, fragments of the aircraft began washing ashore thousands of miles from the suspected crash site. In 2015, a piece of the plane's wing, called a flaperon, was discovered on Reunion Island in the western Indian Ocean. Subsequent finds on beaches in Madagascar and Mozambique confirmed the grim reality. MH370 had met a watery end. But these fragments offered no answers as to why. The most plausible theory, based on satellite data and mathematical modeling, suggests that MH370 flew south over the Indian Ocean for several hours before running out of fuel and crashing into the sea. Yet, this explanation fails to address the core question. What caused the plane to veer so dramatically off course in the first place? For the families of the victims, the lack of closure is a torment that words cannot capture. They have lived for years in a purgatory of grief, oscillating between hope and despair. Every fragment of evidence, every new theory, rekindles their anguish. The Malaysian government officially declared the disappearance of MH370 an accident in 2015, with all passengers presumed dead. Despite this, private efforts to locate the wreckage continued. In 2018, an American company funded a renewed underwater search, combing a vast area of the Indian Ocean. Once again, the sea revealed nothing. The story of Flight MH370 is more than an aviation mystery. It is a human tragedy, one that has left an indelible mark on our collective psyche. How can a modern aircraft, equipped with advanced tracking technology, simply disappear? What really happened in those final hours? Nearly a decade later, these questions remain unanswered, shrouded in the eerie silence of the Indian Ocean. For the families, for the investigators, and for the world, the disappearance of Flight MH370 is a reminder of how fragile our understanding of the world truly is. As you ponder this story, ask yourself, is this a tale of human error, or does it hint at something far more sinister? Could it happen again? December 4th, 1872. A British ship, the Dei Gratia, was navigating the cold expanse of the Atlantic Ocean when its crew spotted a vessel drifting aimlessly. The ship's sails were torn, yet it showed no visible signs of distress. Captain David Morehouse of the Dei Gratia recognized the vessel as the Mary Celeste, an American brigantine that had set sail from New York just a month earlier. Curiosity quickly turned to unease as the Mary Celeste failed to respond to signals. Morehouse ordered a boarding party to investigate, and what they discovered became one of the most chilling maritime mysteries in history. The Mary Celeste had departed New York on November 7, 1872, bound for Genoa, Italy, carrying 1,701 barrels of industrial alcohol. The ship's captain, Benjamin Briggs, was an experienced mariner. He had his wife, Sarah, and their 2-year-old daughter, Sophia, aboard, along with a crew of 7. The voyage had begun uneventfully, with Captain Briggs writing in his final log entry on November 25th, "Everything is well." When the Dei Gratia crew boarded the Mary Celeste, they found a ghost ship. The vessel was completely abandoned, yet it appeared seaworthy. The cargo of alcohol was largely intact, and there was no sign of struggle or foul play. Personal belongings, including valuables and Captain Briggs' navigational instruments, remained undisturbed. Even a sewing machine and a half-eaten breakfast were left behind, as though the crew had vanished mid-meal. But the most unsettling detail was the ship's lifeboat. It was gone. What could have caused the crew to abandon a perfectly sound vessel in the middle of the ocean? And why was there no trace of them, despite extensive searches? Theories abound, but none provide definitive answers. One possibility is that the Mary Celeste encountered a sudden calamity that forced the crew to flee. Some speculate that leaking alcohol vapors from the cargo may have created an explosion risk. If the crew feared the ship might ignite, they could have taken to the lifeboat temporarily, only for a sudden storm or high seas to separate them from the ship, leaving them stranded and doomed. Another theory points to piracy, though this is widely dismissed. Pirates would likely have looted the valuable cargo and personal belongings, yet everything was intact. Similarly, mutiny has been suggested, but there was no evidence of violence aboard. The idea of a waterspout, a powerful tornado-like oceanic vortex, has also been proposed. Such a phenomenon could explain the torn sails and a hurried evacuation. Yet, this does not explain why no bodies or debris from the lifeboat were ever found. Then there are the more fantastical explanations. Some point to supernatural forces, suggesting the crew may have fallen victim to an unexplainable, otherworldly event. Whispers of sea monsters and ghostly apparitions have lingered in maritime folklore for centuries, and the Mary Celeste has since become synonymous with tales of haunted seas. Others suggest the possibility of alien abduction, a theory born from desperation to explain the sheer impossibility of the situation. Despite exhaustive investigations, including a formal inquiry by the British Admiralty, no conclusive answers were found. The Mary Celeste was salvaged and returned to service, but her reputation as a cursed vessel grew with each passing year. Sailors whispered that the ship carried an unseen force, one that had claimed her crew and left her adrift as a warning. The fate of the Briggs family and their crew remains one of history's greatest maritime mysteries. For decades, writers, historians, and enthusiasts have dissected the case, piecing together fragments of evidence and speculation in an attempt to solve the puzzle. Yet, the Mary Celeste remains an enigma, a ghost ship that defies explanation. For those left behind, the tragedy was deeply personal. Loved ones waited in vain for word of the missing, their lives forever shadowed by the unknown. For Captain Briggs's young son, who had stayed behind in New York, the disappearance meant growing up with a haunting legacy and no answers about the fate of his family. What truly happened aboard the Mary Celeste? Was it a tragic misjudgment, a natural disaster, or something beyond human comprehension? The ghostly silence of the Mary Celeste speaks louder than words, a chilling reminder of how the sea guards its secrets. Over a century later, the ship's story still echoes through the halls of maritime lore, a testament to the vast and mysterious power of the ocean. As you ponder this tale, one question lingers. What would you have done in their place, faced with the unknown? The stories of Flight MH370 and the Maria Celeste serve as chilling reminders of the unknown. They defy logic, challenge science, and ignite our most primal fears. What truly happened? Were these events dictated by human error, natural forces, or something far beyond our understanding? The next time you board a plane or step onto a ship, pause and consider the stories of those who vanished, their fates forever sealed in mystery. If these stories left you unsettled or intrigued, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more spine-chilling tales. And tell us in the comments, what do you think happened? Were these tragic accidents, or do they hint at something much more sinister? Until next time, stay alert, stay curious, and tread carefully. The world is vast and unpredictable, and you never know what mysteries lie just beyond the horizon.